In September of 2010, a 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck Christchurch, New Zealand. Miraculously, no one died. People exhaled. They started to rebuild. But the ground kept moving. More quakes in June, more at Christmas. Over the course of 2 years, the Christchurch region experienced over 8,000 earthquakes and aftershocks. The earth just wouldn't settle. And here's what happened to many of the people living there. Their nervous systems stopped trusting the stability of the ground beneath them. Even when everything was still, they felt it moving. Phantom swaying, vertigo, always bracing. See, their nervous systems had begun to orient to the shaking. They didn't trust the stability. Now, I've never lived through a major earthquake, but I have to tell you, that description, always waiting for the next crack to appear, consistently bracing for more disorienting impact, that sounds and feels a lot like right now, what we're living. We see the cracks, a climate in crisis, political systems fracturing, people suffering on a scale too big to look away from and too complex to fix alone. And we care, so we keep looking, because maybe if we stay informed enough, prepared enough, we can get ahead of it somehow. But we can't, leaving us feeling overwhelmed and helpless in the face of so much that matters. So, what do we do when the instability isn't an event with a beginning, middle, and end, but the environment we're living in? Because here's what I know. The answer isn't to stop caring. I'm not suggesting you look away. The fact that you feel it all so deeply, that is not a problem. That is a gift. But many of us are asking the same question. What do I do with all of this? We care, so we stay informed. We stay informed because we want to help, but somewhere along the way, caring and scrolling becomes a stress loop with no off-ramp. Our nervous systems get stuck, flooded with adrenaline, braced for the next disorienting rumble, cycling between outrage and grief with nowhere to recover. And at some point, something in us just gives up. The problems are too big, we're too small, and the ground won't stop moving anyway. So I want to offer a perspective shift. Stability is actually not the goal. What if the goal isn't to try to find or force solid ground, but to become someone who can move with the instability, able to feel the shaking without being leveled by it? Not numb, present, not stuck, adaptable. The thing is, when we stop trying so hard to control the uncontrollable, something pretty incredible happens. We stop reacting and we start creatively responding. We tap into a kind of intelligence that the restrictive lens of fear simply cannot access. And from there, we can contribute something meaningful to the mess without adding more suffering to the pile. Now, I know this not just because I've observed it as a former therapist and coach. I know this because I've lived it. The last 2 years of my life have been a masterclass in losing my footing and seeing how much I was clinging to the illusion of control. In the fall of 2024, in the span of just 2 weeks, my world as I knew it dissolved. A close call accident with a semi-truck, the official end to my second marriage, and then Hurricane Helene devastated our community. My car, which was still at the repair shop, floated down the river. And so I found myself a single entrepreneur starting just about everything over again, only this time in the middle of a natural disaster zone. You see, every time I started to solve one problem, life just brought more unexpected aftershocks, showing me just how little control I had. And just when I thought months later that things might finally be settling, I lost my soulmate dog, Delilah, my emotional anchor through it all. And as the things I thought I could count on floated away, I found myself reaching for three things. I was, without realizing it, practicing exactly what I'm going to share with you today. Hindsight truly is intuition's biggest cheerleader. But first, let's talk about what we know about the brain under chronic stress. When we're in a fear response, really in it, our focus narrows. Cortisol floods our system. Higher thinking, the kind that actually solves complex problems, goes offline. We're in survival mode, which is brilliant for immediate danger, like outrunning a tiger. It is not a sustainable way to live on an ongoing basis. So, what do we do? When the ground keeps shaking, what can we reach for? Connection in three directions. Let's start by going within, connecting to ourselves and the intelligence of our own nervous systems. But I have to say, if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, it is not a personal flaw. You see, our nervous systems were designed long before the internet existed, long before we had immediate access to every war, every crisis, every injustice happening around the globe. You see, our brains don't fully distinguish between watching it on a screen and actually being in it. It registers as threat, as danger. You know, that's just an ancient nervous system doing its best to navigate a very modern mess. Regulating the nervous system isn't a luxury. It's the difference between saying we want a safer world and actually embodying it. Between reacting and responding. Between being paralyzed by fear and staying connected to our creative intelligence. And one of the most powerful regulation tools is so simple, it's often overlooked. It's your breath. And it's available right now and every other moment of your life. So let's just take 2 breaths together right now. Feel your feet on the floor. Soften the muscles in your belly. And breathe deeply in through the nose. And out through the mouth with a sigh. Once more, in through the nose. And out with a sigh. You feel that? Notice the change isn't just yours, it's ours. Like Mia Birdsong says in her book, How We Show Up, we get the future we want by practicing it now. Which is why the second direction matters so much, connecting outward to each other, because we were never meant to carry all of this alone. We are wired for connection. Through brain cells called mirror neurons, our nervous systems are literally in constant conversation with the people around us, whether we realize it or not. And when that connection feels safe and meaningful, oxytocin floods in, stress hormones quiet, and clear thinking returns. And here's what's really cool. Researchers have found that our emotional state ripples out up to 3 degrees of separation, which means that just by showing up regulated and connected, we influence not just our friends, but our friends' friends and their friends. You see, community is not only biological medicine, it is one of the most quietly powerful forms of impact available to us. And now for the third direction, connecting upward or beyond to something greater than ourselves and larger than the overwhelming problems we face. Dr. Lisa Miller, a researcher at Columbia University, studies what happens in the brain when people cultivate a relationship with something greater than themselves. Call it spirituality, God, the consciousness of love, the creative intelligence of the universe. The label's fairly irrelevant. What matters is the sense of connection. And what she has found is that spiritual connection literally builds structures in the brain that create a natural resistance to anxiety, depression, and the type of overwhelm that shuts us down. You see, it doesn't just bring us comfort. It literally makes us more capable of navigating the hard and painful stuff of life. And here's where her research intersects with my years of somatic therapy and coaching. You don't even have to believe it fully at first. You just have to be willing to imagine being held by something larger than the problem. Your brain and body will begin to respond to the imagining of it in real time. You see, when we create a relationship with something beyond ourselves, we stop trying so hard to control what matters. We want peace, purpose, positive change, and we go after it hard. But often it's like trying to grab a wet balloon. The harder you grip, the faster it flies out of your hands. And I think that's what we're doing right now. Gripping harder, scrolling faster, trying to out-control a world that simply will not be controlled. And I'll be honest, my inclination to control the uncontrollable has not magically disappeared. But I meet it differently now, softer, more realistically. And from there, I can contribute my unique piece to the larger puzzle. And that has brought me a sense of peace and capacity that I genuinely didn't think existed. And that's what I want for you. Not a more predictable world, because good luck with that, but a different relationship with the uncertainty. One that keeps you connected to your creative intelligence, to each other, and to something that holds you steady even when the ground won't. From there, you become someone who can actually meet this moment and keep moving forward in the direction of what matters. Not perfectly, not without fear or concern, but more fully. And the world needs exactly that from you right now. The ground may keep moving, but you can keep taking the next step forward.